Hi, and welcome back. Episode 2. You made it. You made it to the first one, and you returned for the second one, so thank you. I would congratulate you, for getting through the first one, um, and deciding to come back and join me for the second one. The first one, of course, download that because it's sure to be, a keepsake, a collector's item. The first of anything is always gonna be valuable down the line, right? Who knows? I mean, I might only do 10 of these. So, who knows what the future holds, but I appreciate you coming and joining me. And if this is your first time joining us, then please feel free. There is an episode 1. So you can always go back and kind of see how this all started by going back to that. But this is the Coach Barnabas podcast. And in the first episode, kind of laid out a little bit, a real brief idea of what the vision is for this channel, for this podcast. And I defined where coach comes from. And you can go back and watch that, listen to it, and kind of get that origin story as to why I chose that as part of the name. But today I want to focus on the second part of the name, Barnabas, and because it's an unusual name, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Or you may tune in going, "Who is Coach Barnabas? Is this guy it?" And I'm not. It's essentially an idea, and so I'm going to kind of dive into the whole Barnabas aspect of it and see how it connects with why I named it this and where kind of give you an idea of where we're going from here. So, with that in mind, let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit. Um, for those who know me, you know this, but for those who are tuning in and you have no idea, no concept of who I am, I'm just a guy. I don't have, you'll notice behind me on the wall is just stuff. I don't have, degrees and certifications and all this other stuff that qualifies me as some sort of expert because I'm not. But I am someone who has lived a little bit and learned a lot. Um, I know very little about cars, next to nothing, but anything I do know about cars is by things that are broken down on them. And so I learn a lot by sometimes by unfortunate circumstances or whatever. And sometimes, you learn something and it helps you avoid unfortunate circumstances. So I'm hoping that through the course of our journey together, you will find some form of connection by either mistakes I've made or mistakes I've seen other people make where I've learned from them, or just from successes. It doesn't always have to be from negative things. It could be just from things you've learned that have been wild successes, maybe beyond what you hoped or expected, because you just simply did the right thing, or you went into a situation with a certain degree of encouragement and you faced it and got to the other side and it wasn't as bad as you thought, and you learned something from it. So I'm hoping that we can even just kind of create a sense of community here, and your comments, your feedback, your input is highly encouraged. I'd love to hear from you, and just find out what you've been through. Maybe did this connect with you in some way? Did it encourage you? Did it kind of remind you of a story or a situation you went through? Love to hear from you. But again, going back to Barnabas, now faith is a big part of my life, and so I will probably from time to time refer to experiences that relate to that, or refer to the source of my inspiration, which is biblical. And so that's where Barnabas comes from. He is a biblical figure, one of the 12 apostles. His given name, his birth name, was actually Joseph, but he had such a reputation for being an encourager that his fellow disciples nicknamed him Barnabas, which the origin of that name, the meaning behind it is son of encouragement. So some of you may have nicknames, and you may, if you choose, if you're brave enough, you can include that in comments. Tell me what your nickname might have been, whether as a child and maybe it was a joke, or maybe there's some family meaning, or maybe it was based on an aspect of your personality. But in this case, here was the guys that Joseph hung around with, and he had such a positive influence in their life that they nicknamed him Barnabas, and he became known as that. And that was something where he had earned that nickname, that moniker, and it's a very positive thing. And so he was a very much an encouraging type of person. Now, uh, where that was really interesting to me was when he came across another guy who had a name at one point and it changed along the way. And his name was Saul originally. And Saul was known as a guy who was people didn't like. They feared him. He was not a good man. In fact, he was known for even killing Christians. He was not, maybe by today's standards, you might think of him as like being, if you watch TV, mobsters or something like that. Somebody who's very dangerous and a threat. Somebody you didn't just hang out with. He just was an unsavory type of guy. But at some point in his life, he changed. His whole everything changed, and he became known as Paul. But still, his reputation preceded him. And as he was making significant changes in his life, he went on to write a majority of the New Testament. But before all of that, he had to transition from being an unsavory type of guy, somebody you didn't want to hang out with, somebody you feared, somebody you wanted to actually hide from, to being somebody who now identified with you. And there was some connection and solidarity, but people didn't trust him. He still had this reputation. Well, Barnabas was a guy who saw Paul and saw the potential of who he was, saw deeper than the past and the reputation and the things that he had done, and saw something new. And in seeing that, he vouched for Paul to the other disciples and said, "No, this guy, he's good, and God's done some amazing things in his life, and he's going to be used in a powerful way, and you will learn from him." And so, with trepidation, they listened to Barnabas, they trusted him. So that was kind of the inspiration. That not kind of that was the inspiration behind the Barnabas part of the name, Coach Barnabas. Is I want to be known as somebody who sees the potential in people, sees the good in them, and wants to encourage them and see something in them that maybe they don't even see in themselves, or maybe others don't see. Um, and help them again with the coach part, which we talked about in the previous episode, taking them from where they've been, like Paul or Saul. When he was Saul, he was a bad guy, but Barnabas helped him get to where he wanted to go, and then propelled him to even greater things. And so he's known eternally for very good things, although he had a pretty checkered past. And maybe you relate to that in some way. I had a pretty checkered past, but thankfully my best days were ahead of me. So that's kind of what Barnabas saw. Now let's talk about the word encouragement. Encouragement, we can get that confused with compliment. Okay. Compliments are good, but compliments are not necessarily encouragement. So you can say to somebody, "Oh, that looks really nice on you." Sorry, if you hear it in the background, I have cats. And so they're right now deciding this is a good time to play with a little plastic ball with a bell in it. So if you hear that in the background, I apologize. Not the most professional thing in the world, but here we are. Um, at any rate, encouragement is different than a compliment, because saying you look good and something, that's nice, and we all like to hear that from time to time. But encouragement is literally, again, I like getting into breaking down what words mean, the etymology. So encouragement is literally wrapping somebody in courage, like you envelop. Okay, en is surrounding them. Encircle, you have something and then you put a circle around it. You've encircled something. Encouragement is the same kind of concept. Is you are taking somebody and you are enveloping them in courage. And that's what this is all about. So um, that's what this channel's about. That's what I want to help you. And maybe I can encourage you in some sort of way where I wrap you in courage, not because I'm doing anything, but because maybe there's something here that you identify with and say, I can do that. And then also charge you and deputize you to become a Coach Barnabas, somebody who helps people go from where they are to where they want to be. And that you would enwrap them. There's another en word. Enwrap them, envelop them, encircle them, encourage them as they go. Now, the thing about encouragement is it has to be sincere. Okay, you don't want to tell somebody who's completely ill-equipped to do something, to go ahead and do that. You know what? You think you can put out fires and run in there, by golly, with your little, garden hose and put out that raging inferno. Well, no, you're not equipped to do that kind of thing, and you're actually sending somebody to at least serious injury, if not worse. Um, so we want to be wise, but at the same time, there are times when you literally see something in that person and they don't see it themselves, or they've forgotten. And you, or maybe you've been there and you can say, look, I've been through this. I know the way, and I will walk with you through it. So we become a source of encouragement. We become a Coach Barnabas. And so that's what this whole thing is about. And so with each episode, I want to bring you something that hopefully will achieve that. I want to wrap you in courage, and also hopefully encourage you to, and I say this at the end of each episode, you'll hear me say this, is that I want you to both be encouraged, but also be an encouragement. So it's not enough to take it and just keep it to ourselves, but it's also something that's free to share and to find opportunities. For me, that's what fuels me. I find that I'm happiest, I am at my best when I am coming alongside somebody and helping them and lifting them up. And if you watch sports, again, I told you I love sports. You see somebody get hurt, and you see other guys come alongside and help carry him off the field or off the court, or whatever the case may be. Is sometimes you're that person to somebody where they can't do it on their own, but you help them along the way. Um, Going back to the coach concept, is like sometimes you're on the sideline, but you're shouting encouragement, you're shouting instructions, you're shouting, if somebody's running a race, there's people along the side of the course cheering on and applauding and encouraging them to continue, to push through the pain, to keep going towards the finish line. So that's where this community comes in. And so each episode hopefully will provide something that will be a source of encouragement, or also maybe inspire you to think of somebody that might benefit from this, and you want to share it with them. Or maybe it triggers something in you where it's like, okay, Corey said this, but it brought to mind something else, and I think this need can be added to it and supplemented. Who knows? I don't even who I'm not going to limit anything that can happen here, but if it starts here, that's awesome. That's really what I hope, is that something will start here, and it will just engage you into action, and to be encouraged, and to be an encouragement. So that's basically the idea, the concept behind Coach Barnabas, a source of positivity, but in a sincere, tangible way. Okay. It's not just some motivational poster or bumper sticker or something like that, which is fine, but those can become cliche. But in real world, where we are putting our words, our thoughts, our experiences into action, and using that to help propel us through things, and maybe even to help others navigate their course, their journey, and we can come alongside them and be part of their story. So that's what this is about. So thank you once again for joining me. This is episode 2. Still, I'm sure, very rough around the edges. There are far more professional setups and everything else, but we'll see where this goes together. But thank you for joining me on this. And like I said, I just want to ask you to be encouraged and to be an encouragement. Talk to you next time. And until then, thank you so much.